All right, I've got a lot to cover in only a few minutes. We've done it again. PayPal, which I have talked about as early as yesterday, saying that earnings were today. I've actually covered it, I think, in every video for the last week. I've said it's a hold. And I said, as long as it holds above $66, the chart looks really good. It was already hinting at a huge move. When I called it out as my October pick, we were able to run it up very quickly for a 100% gain. And then the advice was to lock in those gains because it began to fall back. But I said as long as it didn't open and close beneath $66, it was definitely a hold. And the long-term options was, for me, the way to play it. This thing absolutely ripped on some very big news. One of the big parts of the PayPal chart is that it had been consolidating and moving sideways for a very long time. And I explained when I covered it at the beginning of October that puts pressure on the bears. And why does that put pressure on the bears? Because all the bad news has already been priced in. You got to remember, this stock is way down from its highs, which means it's been discounted and discredited. And all they had to do was to freak out the bears and cause them to have to panic and to let the bulls take over, was to come out with a good news story or a good catalyst. And we've already seen that it's been coming up off of past lows for months and months and months. So in my view, you had to be crazy to be going against this trade. Now, I want to make it clear because I'll get some comments and people will say, Josh, we shifted to Pepsi. Yes, we shifted to Pepsi. We made it the October pick and we were able to pull out well over a 100% gain, which makes me 4 for 4 because even though I've made calls from month to month, I started a new series where I would give a brand new pick for the month of the stock that I thought was most bullish in the days ahead. And that initially was PayPal. And then the very next day I said, guys, I want to make it PayPal and Pepsi. PayPal ripped, Pepsi kept ripping. And I said, guys, let's take our winnings, let's shift over to Pepsi, but I'm going to hold a position in PayPal, right? And I'm going through this because I'm trying to stress to some out there the need to pivot. And some of you guys get into these plays and there's a strategy to buy and hold, but it's not to panic if you get red candles. If you believe in the story, and I share the story, if you believe that the charts are pointing to a bullish move, and I indicated that PayPal's charts were, then you buy and you hold with some confidence. Now, what is the big news story that PayPal gave us that caused this stock to absolutely rip? Well, it's not a small story. They've had a partnership with OpenAI. So ChatGPT plus PayPal is, and some people may not believe what I'm about to say, they're gunning for Amazon. Okay, Amazon right now is the biggest online shopping source in the world, right? In America. And now ChatGPT, which I think is trying to build the superhighway that all businesses will have to ride and pay them the toll because of the infrastructure that they're developing for super intelligence, which would change every dynamic of business. This is sort of bigger, and it's bigger than the internet, and it's bigger than blockchain. It's bigger than crypto. Artificial intelligence or super intelligence, which is the current AI rally that we've been in since 2023, 2024, and 2025, the one who's leading the whole thing that seems to have every company in the world coming and taking the knee, which is Sam Altman with OpenAI. We saw it with NVDA, right? We've seen it with every company. These guys have the Midas touch right now, and any company they partner with dramatically and drastically changes the future of that company. Well, PayPal got a deal. And now I will admit that the transaction space, financial transaction space, is very crowded with lots of competition, a lot of vying. But if you are the one that has that position in the strongest AI story in the world, that might be pretty important. So PayPal has got one of the very best news stories that we could have hoped for. And we just got paid, folks. If you held on to the PayPal trade, which I have repeatedly said that I'm holding this, and then yesterday, before the market closed, I sent out an alert that we were buying again. And if you did that, you've been rewarded handsomely with another fat gain. And I sent out an alert after the market opened. We climbed. I sent out an alert to sell. Now, there's a reason to hold and a reason to buy PayPal, but I wanted to make sure that folks didn't make the same mistake as last time when we ran up nearly 100% on PayPal and didn't take any profits? Well, I threw out a sell order so that some of you guys would sell. But I'm going to take you into the chart, and we're going to go over what does that look like? What is the story there? How high could this go right now? Because I think it's going to be important. Now, we've got so much going on this week. I'm going to have to try to keep this video concise. Obviously, today, FOMC meeting. Tomorrow, we're going to get a Fed rate cut decision. And today, I'm going to be live trading the Power Hour with Miss Mary and Tamir in the Stocks with Josh Discord. And we've had a beautiful run so far. I just recently initiated these Power Hour sessions, and all we've done is win. And we had some huge wins. First Power Hour session, we made a 140% gain. And then the last one, we made a beautiful gain as well. We're going to do it again here in a couple hours. Tomorrow, we're going to get that Fed rate decision, and I'm going to be live trading during that decision. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about my pro trading community called Chart Goat University. If you don't know how to trade and it's not your thing, it's a place where you can just simply come and lay a foundation and learn the charts. But it's not just me, it's me and my Crown traders, and we are providing a number of sessions every morning of the week and now a couple times in the afternoon where you could trade along folks with some experience who know the charts and know how to take risk. You're still responsible for your own risk and you're still responsible for your own decisions, but you don't have to do it alone. You could do it with us in a live session. And you can go to my website, which is the same name as the show. You simply search www.stockswithjosh.com. I have to throw out and highlight, we had a beautiful, powerful win on NVIDIA. And I give my A-plus scalp setups half an hour before the market opens. I did it for NVIDIA today. And I always put a bias at the bottom of that setup. And I said, watching for breakout. NVIDIA had an incredibly powerful move, and it rocketed through my scalp line. And if you had taken the trade, you had an opportunity for a massive win right out of the gates. Again, if you don't have a trade plan, you can learn to do my A-plus scalp setups, and that can be the foundation for a trade plan. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm simply sharing with you parts of my trade plan. I share with you my discipline. I share with you the things I see in the charts. And as we saw again, for four, the monthly pick, even though it had been extended to Pepsi, which is still winning, the original pick of PayPal, which I said was a hold, has now paid everyone very, very nicely. But I have advised for profit taking because some people, they just get so carried away. They want it to, they don't, as I think my good friend Larry says, trees don't grow to the heavens. Trees only grow so high, and bullish moves only go so high. I don't know if I got that right, but that's some quote he gives. Let's quickly take a peek at the PayPal story. What moved the stock today? I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to get covered, but let's jump into the story real quick. So PayPal stock soars on earnings. New OpenAI partnership. PayPal on Tuesday reported third quarter earnings and revenue that topped Wall Street's estimates. PayPal stock climbed as analysts mulled a new OpenAI e-commerce partnership and key financial metrics for its branded business. The digital payments firm reported September quarter earnings before the market opened. PayPal earnings for Q3 rose 12% to $1.34. Revenue climbed 7% to $8.4 billion. Also, Venmo Q3 revenues rose 20%. Let's get into the PayPal chart. This is really just the beginning of the PayPal story. Let's review where we're at. We're looking at weekly candles, and you can see PayPal has been a roller coaster to the downside. This has been an absolute horror story for those who bought in way up here. But this move occurred a long time ago, and eventually that descent slowed to a crawl. We eventually hit bottom at around $50, and we have been slowly building up strength from there. Now, what I liked about it and what I talked about last time is that we have a giant cup. And what happens in these cups is that it's basically a turnaround story that moves from the downside and eventually begins to move back to the upside. So the main takeaway that I want you to have today is the next area of resistance is 78.50. And this is what we've got. We have this part of that cup to still work our way through, which means that we're likely going to have moves up and moves down, which will respect this cup shape. That's what we've had so far. I'm not expecting us to break out of the cup. Ultimately, and the way that I've drawn this is we have a clearly defined neckline at $92. Now, if this is the turnaround moment for PayPal, we are going to have some pullback and some fearful profit taking because this thing has fallen so far. And a lot of people don't really have confidence in it, right? Even though we are making a series of higher lows and we're slowly pushing up. And I think ultimately that story is going to get its biggest test at $92. I'm still expecting some chop in this area and eventually a stronger push higher up to that 92. So to be very, very clear, what I want everybody to understand is that even though we locked in gains today, I like this play long term. And this alliance with Sam Altman and OpenAI is a game changer. It totally repositions the outlook for PayPal. And honestly, as I said earlier, they couldn't have gotten a better deal. This is the top premium deal in the AI story globally. As I said before, OpenAI, with the help of the government and with the help of NVDA and Amazon and Google, everybody's paying homage. AMD, all of them are working together to build up this company that's going to be the super highway in which all transactions occur. PayPal just got a front row seat at that, and I think that's fascinating. So that is proven to be a great opportunity. Yes, I locked in all my gains when this thing was hot and pushing higher. It doesn't mean the story is over. I'm going to be looking very carefully for any touch of that cup shape because that's structural support. And if you follow me, I always talk about trend, structure, momentum, and volume. And I just want to remind you guys, when I did that October video at the beginning of October regarding PayPal, what I liked about it and what I highlighted was that there was stealth volume buys. This was smart money getting positioned. And when it ran up and pulled back, I mentioned this is very likely they're trying to shake out retail one more time. I said, that's why we've got to hold. And someone will say to me, but Joshua, you started talking about Pepsi and, you made me feel like this PayPal deal wasn't going to work out. I don't have a crystal ball and I'm not telling anybody what to do. The only thing that I could say that should matter to any of you is I'm holding. Okay. And I've given the technicals, I've given the fundamentals, the story and the charts all look good. It's still a highly competitive space. And so what does that mean? Okay, that means that these guys have got to show that this deal with OpenAI is going to produce new revenues, distinguishing them from the slow growth and putting them back into a growth stock story, which is really what we want in our big tech companies, using their advantage of their position and their deep pockets to build that moat and maintain being market leaders. Well, everybody gave up on PayPal, but this deal changes that. Now, I wish I had more time because I also want to talk about Nokia, NOK. They got a huge deal with NVIDIA. Now, last Thursday, in a live trading power hour session with Mark from Tribal Trades in the Stocks with Josh Discord, we talked about Nokia. And in today's session, I might cover that stock technically. If you're not in the Discord, get in there because even one of these plays managed correctly can be a game changer and a wealth builder for you. So Nokia got a big deal with NVIDIA. And this is also a massive underdog story. So today, it's these big companies have been aligning with these small companies, which have been heavily shorted, with Wall Street having low expectations. And the script has been flipped and it changes everything. And Nokia ripped from $6 to $8. And this has been talked about steadily in the Stocks with Josh Discord. And I've charted it a number of times. And even when it was running around 7, I came out and let everybody know we had resistance at 8 and 10. And that's about all I can give you guys on that today, but maybe we'll talk about it more in the next couple of videos. Peace and blessings, my friends. Hit that like and subscribe. I hope you did well. Let everybody know in the comments section if you held on to your PayPal and if you were able to cash it out for some big, big profitable gains. The whole reason why I show up here is to share the view of the charts and to share opportunities so folks can make some money. And we made some money today. A beautiful play. Congratulations to everybody that took it. And the same for the group that took Nokia. And we'll dive into that Nokia story more because that one is just beginning as well. But they also need to show some increased revenues because I want to remind you guys, this Wall Street is moved emotionally by stories, but that will only last so long. After the story fades away, it's the revenues that they need to see to justify the stock moving higher. And even when the revenues are growing, if the profit margin begins to shrink, well, the stock price will begin to fall. So that's what we got to see coming up for both PayPal and Nokia. And that'll be the true test as to whether these go on to hit back to their all-time highs in years gone by. Let me know what you think about both these trades. Are you holding? Did you take profits? I'd love to hear from you. Peace and blessings, my friends. I'll see you in the Power Hour live trade session in the Stocks with Josh Discord in the next hour. Bye-bye. If you need better trading tools, check out the offer right now from the Moomoo Investment app. They're running a limited time promo. You can get up to $1,000 in NVDA stock just for making a deposit. Plus, they're offering 8.1% APY on your uninvested cash for the first 3 months. So your money's working even when you're not trading. I'm a big fan of their earnings calendar, and when a company reports, you can just tap the earnings tab for a clean breakdown of revenue, earnings per share, and company news all in one place. Also, there are 0 commissions on US stocks, ETFs, and options, and no inactivity fees. Whether you trade every day or just check in once a week, you're not getting hit with hidden charges. You get level 2 market data with over 60 indicators, so you have the tools you need. Go to the Moomoo link below to grab your free stock and earn 8% on your sitting cash.